Welcome to this next instalment of the content collaboration between Property Tribes and our friends and partners at Lendlord, the property portfolio management software. And throughout this whole themed content, we are championing the concept of being a digital landlord, and we're calling this Digital Landlord Lives, and we're spotlighting landlords that have adopted digital tools and finding out from them how it's helped them in their day-to-day landlord life. And for this instalment, I'm very pleased to be joined by a fellow lady landlord, and that is Sara Beadon. And Sara, welcome to Property Tribes. And a good place to start, I think, is just to get a little bit of an overview of your personal kind of property investor journey, and just give us a little bit of a flavour of your portfolio, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's funny because when I first started in the property market, it was in 1990, and there was no internet, there was no Rightmove, there was nothing to really open the scope of where you could even invest in property. So it was a bit of a trying to find my feet on grounds that I'd never been on before. And I lived in Aberdeen. The first property I bought was in 1991, I think. And it was a 2-bedroom flat. I felt that I wanted to get into the property market, and that was my first venture, really. And because of my husband's job we traveled a lot. We left within a year, and we just held on to the property for another 20 years. I left it in the hands of an agent, and they took it over. And they charged me a lot every month, and I never bothered to even look at renewing the mortgage when it expired. So it just rolled over, and it was a very high mortgage I was paying at the time, but I didn't know any wiser. So I continued. We returned to the UK in, I think it was in 2004. And then I started again. I bought another property, and then we invested, and that's how we've started. Now we have 3 buy-to-lets. One is a student-let, and I only invested in a student-let because my daughter went to university, and when I saw the astronomical fees they were paying for accommodation, I thought, wow, this is a good investment. So I said, right, I'm going to invest in a student-let. And actually, it's been one of our best investments to this day. Apart from that, we have another property we have in London, and that's doing okay. I mean, it was quite an expensive property to invest in, but we're hoping that the returns will be greater later on down the line. And that's where I am now today. I don't think I would love to get into maybe Airbnb, that kind of holiday let as a different option rather than the usual buy-to-let investment. So that's where I am today.
Fantastic. So you've been a landlord for over 30 years. Yeah. Wow. And you'll have seen so many changes during that period, and you'll have seen, financial crash of 2008 and so on. But I'm sure you'll agree that the whole kind of, I call it the post-COVID-19 lockdowns fallout, it's amplified change in our sector massively, and of course in most other sectors as well. And I think it's really going to highlight to landlords the importance of digital tools, because working with a platform like Lendlord, it could have, solved a lot of problems during lockdown, for instance, last year. So what attracted you to the Lendlord software? How did you hear about it, and what attracted you to it?
Well, actually, Vanessa, I heard about Lendlord on your platform, the Property Tribe. And for a while, I had been looking for some portfolio or something that I could put all my portfolios in one area, where I could put all my documentation, all my mortgage, everything that I had concerning my properties in one place. Because before Lendlord, I would literally have a spreadsheet, and I would update it as I needed to. And then when it came time to do tax returns, it was a nightmare because I then had to find these receipts and make sure everything was recorded. And very often I know I skipped out stuff that I should have been claiming for, but that is why. And then when I saw it on Property Tribe, I thought, let me go and check this out. And when I did, I thought, okay, this has potential. Let me see if I can put my information on the site and see if it really will work for me. And yeah, it did. It was great. I mean, and I use it all the time now. As soon as I get in a bill, I go straight to Lendlord. I put it into my expense tracker and I know it's there. I also, what they have now is they have that I also upload the receipt or the invoice direct to the expense that you've entered onto the platform. So everything is in one place. And that's what I love about Lendlord.
Well, that's music to our ears to hear that, Sarah. It's very gratifying to the whole Lendlord team when we hear about how landlords are using it on a sometimes on a daily basis, as you are when you're tracking your expenses. So that's really fantastic. Do you think that there's so many of these great tools around at the moment? We always encourage landlords at Property Tribes to adopt what we call a digital first approach, because we do believe that it's going to make landlords' lives easier, more efficient, certainly save time, and also on many occasions actually save money. And I think we know that landlord margins have been slimmed in probably the last 5-6 years or so. Therefore, would you recommend for anybody starting out now to really think like a digital landlord?
Absolutely. I think there's so many ways, even now with COVID, when you put on a portfolio, when you put up a property online, it's great that you can do a walkthrough. I mean, whoever thought of that before, And that actually is such an attractive thing for somebody who's looking for a property to rent. They can just sit at home and say, okay, let me see what this looks like. And for me, it's helped because throughout the years, I started off using a lot of agents and the fees just got higher and higher. And now I've decided that I'm going to manage it myself. And I've been managing it for the last, I would say, 10 years. And I've found it's not that difficult. Now that you have Rightmove, you have all the platforms online that you can go and look at these things. Now you have walkthrough videos. You can do your own open rent. You don't even have to use an agent, So it's just becoming easier and easier with the digital, all the digital information that we have to be a landlord. You can do it from your home without even, going out that much. So it's great.
No, I totally agree with you. We've got a partner, Property Loop, who do rentals in London, and they offer a 360-degree immersive experience for tenants to look at a property online first. And in COVID times, well, yeah, that makes sense, but also it definitely stops time wasters, because people can look at the walkthrough, as you say, the video or the immersive experience, and decide whether a property is for them or not. Therefore, the leads that you do get are very hot leads, even though there might be less of them. They're going to be more quality. And then we've got another partner called Clevio that does digital keys, so you can allow access to your property from anywhere in the world. So again, this was highlighted during lockdown, because landlords with Clevio were able to allow tradesmen in and that kind of thing without having to visit the property themselves. So I do think in a strange way that COVID has created a kind of boost to landlords to think in a digital mindset.
Correct. And I think today you don't have to be an experienced landlord. You can actually, it's so easy. It's not that difficult, and if you're willing to put in a little bit of time and a little bit of research and you're excited about it, obviously you're not going to be a landlord unless you want to be. I mean, it really takes, you have to be interested in the subject. So it's great. Yeah.
I think one of the other things I personally love about Lendlord and other digital tools is the almost instant gratification. For instance, if I do a revision of, one of, say, a property in a street where we have a similar like-for-like property, it's sold, I've got a new sold comparable, I pop that into my Lendlord software and I see my equity go up, and it's like, yeah,
exactly.
And you get a rent increase, you can see your net cash flow going up month on month and so on. I love that aspect of it, but also, certainly with the Lendlord platform, it's also very personalized insights. Have you found those personalized insights specifically for you and your portfolio, your financial position? Have you found those helpful?
Absolutely, very helpful. And actually, when I go onto the dashboard and I see the tax insights, I didn't realize there was so much I was missing out. I could have saved on the property inheritance tax, capital gains, all of that. And I made the call, and I spoke with one of their representatives. So that actually has shown me that, wait a minute, I could be making even more money. So it's fantastic.
Well, that's really, really good to hear. And I will just point out to viewers that once you're within the Lendlord ecosystem, you do have the opportunity to work with our trusted suppliers of finance, tax advice. We've got all sorts of really helpful, legitimate products and services for landlords on the platform who are, servicing the needs of our landlord community, and hopefully, saving money along the line. And I think that's got to be at the forefront of every landlord's view going forwards when we are in such uncharted waters, and knowing your financial position. Well, if you don't know it, I think you're massively amplifying your risk.
Correct. I think you're right. I think actually having this has shown me how much money, because before, I'm the kind of landlord who likes to be a good landlord, to make sure all my properties at their top viewing abilities, so that at least, when people come through that door, that they say, wow, this is a nice, I want to live here, So I try to keep my properties to a good level, a very good level. So, I mean, it's good to have all the information that Lendlords offers, because when you see how much money you're spending on curtains or all the little extras that really you don't need to, it really makes you realize, wait a minute, I need to maybe cut back, or, really think about the amount of money I'm spending on each property.
Absolutely. It does make you kind of consider that, and I think that is important. We started, at the beginning of this interview, where you said that you'd started out as a landlord in 1990. There weren't these tools there at that juncture. Now we're in 2021, and we've been through Christmas and New Year. It's obviously a time when people reflect on their lives, and there's that kind of what I call New Year's sentiment, where people think, well, what am I going to do to make this year better than last year? And many people turn to property, and we know that it is still a phenomenally popular investment in the UK. I can't see that changing, but definitely landlords that start out with digital tools, I think they're going to have the edge going forward. And they're so lucky, because these didn't exist when you and I started. And I think if they could adopt that digital mindset, even just putting, their very first property into Lendlord, and then just building their portfolio in partnership with Lendlord and these other digital tools, do you think that will give them perhaps an easier ride than perhaps, when in our analog days?
Yeah, I think, having Lendlord, if you put in as soon as you find the property, you can put it in and see what return you're going to get before you even purchase the property. So, and then those kind of figures, if you're new to this business, you really are not thinking along those lines. There's certain things you really don't know until you start on this journey. So landlord, I mean, once they put in that property, they'll see what revenue they're going to get back, and they'll say, well, if that's a good investment or not. And then they can continue with the next property. They can add it to the platform and take it from there. I think Landlord is definitely a very good tool to start with for somebody starting off as a landlord. And I mean, it doesn't take a lot. Once you put the information in, it's there forever.
Well, that's true. And I'm glad you mentioned the deal analyzing software, because it is one of the modules that we're really, really proud of on Lendlord. I call it deal analyzing on steroids. And again, this kind of a tool wasn't around when I started out. And as you say, it just presents you with all the data and the metrics that you need to decide whether a deal actually stacks up or not. So it's great from that point of view. And also, you mentioned kind of tracking your expenses and logging them onto the system. Again, I think one of the other really helpful things about Lendlord is it has a lot of fields that prompt you to put information in. And in the tax module, it actually has a list of all the expenses that you as a landlord are entitled to claim. And you as a new landlord might not be aware of that, but you can see the prompt. So again, I think that's helping newbie landlords actually raise their game as well.
Correct. And what I love about Lendlord as well is they keep updating everything. If there's always a new addition and there's always an improvement to the platform. So I know that once I'm there, I'm in a good place.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. You can't say fairer than that. I guess as we kind of close this out now, Sarah, you know, we've got landlords, both experienced landlords and newcomer landlords watching this. You know, with 30 odd years of landlord experience, what would be your top tip for landlords in 2021?
My top tip, especially for young, up and coming landlords, is just do it. It's a great investment. Start off with Lendlord, put your information there. I mean, you can find your properties very easily. You can use Lendlord to see if it's a good investment to begin with. And you have all the digital tools you need that you can just sit on in your home and investigate which properties you want to buy. And it's a great investment. And it's a great, it's a great investment later on for your retirement. So these things you need to think of. So yeah, good luck and have fun with it.
Well, that's a brilliant note to end on. Thank you very much for joining me and sharing your landlord digital life with us, Sara. And I do invite everybody watching to rejoin us on Property Tribes for the next instalment of this collaboration between Lendlord and Property Tribes, where we are showcasing digital landlords, and we've got a lot more to come. And every person we speak to has different insights, and that's what I love about these weeks. We hear from landlords like yourself, Sara, who you know, you're doing, you know, steady, going along 30 odd years now, still keeping the faith, still, you know, trying to raise your landlord game. I think you're a wonderful example.
Thanks, Vanessa. Take care.
And you. So join us again. We'll be back tomorrow with the next instalment of Landlord Digital Lives. But for now, Sara and I are saying thank you for watching and goodbye.